Hey everyone, it's Sam from the Coastal Watershed Council. Thanks for joining me with this activity today, making our own watersheds. We'll have a chance to do some coloring, we'll make it rain, and we'll have a chance to learn how water interacts with different landscapes. I will show you what materials we're going to need, and then I'll walk through the activity with you. Here we go. So materials you're going to need is a big dish or a large plate, and you'll see why in a couple minutes. I'm using a simple piece of white paper, and I've got a bunch of different colors of washable markers. So try to avoid using permanent markers, but if you have any sort of kids art kit, I'm guessing the markers will be washable. You can also, if you have one, a spray bottle that sprays fine mist. But if you don't have that, that's okay, because I use also just a bowl of water. So if you don't have a spray bottle, you can just get a bowl or cup of water. You're going to be dipping your hands in this to make it rain and sprinkle some raindrops on your landscape. I also have a paper towel in case things get a little bit messy. And that's all we need to start. So first thing is to take the piece of white paper, and we're going to crumple it up into a little bit of a ball. I like to start by grabbing it in the middle and just starting to squeeze it, not into a perfect ball, but some sort of shape like this. And then bring it back out so it's not completely flat, but it's no longer a ball. This will work just fine. So it's still a little bit crumpled, has some high spots and some low spots. It's not tight up in a ball, but it's also not perfectly flat. The next thing we're going to do is color the high spots. So anywhere where the fold is facing upwards and making sort of a point, like the top of a mountain, we're actually going to use a green marker to color those high points. Those are called the ridges of the mountains. So I'm going to slowly mark these ridge lines. And it's okay if you don't do a perfect job. I'm definitely not going to be doing a perfect job. But the goal is to color these high points and high corners and folds facing up, because that's going to come in handy when we visualize our watersheds that we've made. I've got two more mountains I'd like to color down their ridge lines. And again, this is kind of tricky. It can be a little frustrating because the paper folds and moves around. But again, it doesn't have to be perfect. So we've colored our ridge tops. These are the high points of our mountains where the folds are pointing up. And I'm going to take a blue marker now, and I'm going to color the opposite. So where the folds go inward and facing down, we're going to color that blue. You might be able to guess why we're coloring it blue if you think about how rain might fall on our mountains. So anywhere where there's a fold going inward or making a V shape, I'm just adding a little bit of blue marker. And again, I know this isn't perfect. If you'd like to take a lot of time making a very detailed mountainscape, you can. But as you can see, if you want to do it quickly, it just takes a minute or so. Okay, my friends. So you see now we have our ridge lines in green. We have our lower folds in blue. This doesn't really look like much. You might not think it's a whole lot of a mountainscape or look like a real authentic watershed or river map, but we're going to make it rain, and we're going to have a chance to see what this looks like when we have some water interacting with Earth's surfaces in our maps. This is the time when you want to put this somewhere where it's not going to drip water everywhere. So a big plate or a tray will work great. Maybe a baking sheet if you ever make cookies. I have this glass tray here. It's a little small, but it will work. And we make sure we tuck our mountainscape into our tray. And the goal is to have the high sides up high and those blue folds that we colored in to stay in the low sides. If you have your spray bottle, you can start by just giving it 5 or 6 sprays. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're starting to see some of the colors start to move and run and bleed a little bit into each other. Here's the example of me just using a bowl with some water to drip with my hands. This can be pretty fun, especially if you do it outside and you don't worry about getting a mess. And I'll finish up with some more sprays to my Watershed. Some things to think about and reflect upon is, where do you notice the water going? Even though we made one mountain, the water is going lots of different ways. The water is sliding off or shedding off the sides of the mountains in different directions. So you might see we have a lake formed here, and on the other side of a ridge, we have another lake or river that's formed. On the back side of this mountain, the river and mountainside is really steep, and the water has pooled together at the bottom. We live along the San Lorenzo River watershed, so you can pretend that these are the Santa Cruz Mountains, and that whenever it rains in the Santa Cruz Mountains, the streams and all of the little folds in the sides of our mountains drain the water into a specific spot. For us, that's the San Lorenzo River. And together we can learn to protect and restore and enhance the San Lorenzo River by protecting our mountains and our streams. I hope you enjoyed this activity. For next steps, the next time you make this, you can try drawing a little town or a little city somewhere on your map before you fold it up. That way you'll have a chance to see how the things that humans build interact with the water and our mountains and our watersheds when it rains. Thanks for joining me. I'll see you next time.